The Black Sheep Pays for Everything Part 3. Chapter 14, Going Quiet. Lila didn't announce it. There was no dramatic confrontation, no explosive fight, no final word hurled across a dinner table. She didn't send a long message or write a carefully worded email. There was no "I'm done" no goodbye forever. Instead, she began the way she'd lived most of her life, quietly. It started with the group chat. She muted it. Not permanently, just the 8 hours option. Then 1 week. Then indefinitely. The endless stream of Mason's rants about co-workers, Harper's parenting memes, and her mom's vague inspirational quotes became background noise she no longer cared to decipher. Then came the phone calls. At first, she let them go to voicemail with a wince. Her thumb would hover over answer, her mind already anticipating the guilt-riddled small talk, the hidden requests for money, for time, for something. Always something. But as days passed and the calls stacked up, Mom, Dad, Harper, once even Mason, something in her shifted. She realized something painfully simple. They weren't calling to check in on her. They were calling because they needed something. Or because her absence felt inconvenient. Or because she had broken the pattern, and they didn't know how to make her fall back into it. So she didn't pick up. Not out of spite. Out of preservation. Out of the desperate, late-blooming instinct to survive her own life. She didn't block anyone. She didn't scream or lash out. She just let the space grow. A quiet, deliberate act of non-participation in her own exploitation. She stopped initiating. No more checking in texts. No more "let me know if you need anything." No more "I'm running to the store, want me to grab you." It wasn't a game. She didn't expect anyone to notice the shift. And they didn't. At least, not at first. For the first time in years, Lila's energy began to stay with her. What had once been automatic, sending money, dropping everything, scanning her finances for ways to stretch her paycheck wider, now required justification. Did she want to? Was it good for her? Was there enough left for herself? If the answer wasn't yes, she didn't do it. It was that simple. She started small. She bought new walking shoes. Not on sale. Not clearance. Full price. Sturdy, comfortable. Good arch support. Then she replaced her chipped dishes with a new set, pale blue ceramic that made her smile. She ordered takeout from a sushi place she used to pass by and think, maybe one day. That day was now. No one asked her to split the bill. No one texted to say, "We're short this month." It was peaceful. Unfamiliar, yes. But peaceful. And in that peace, she began to remember who she was, or maybe discover it for the first time. She signed up for a writing class. It was online, inexpensive, and held in the evenings, nothing flashy. But it was hers. A gift to the quiet girl inside her who had once dreamed of stories and language and putting her thoughts somewhere people might listen. The first time she submitted a piece, an essay about burnout disguised as responsibility, the instructor emailed her personally. "This hit me hard. You've got something here." She read that line 5 times, heart thudding. It was the first praise she'd received in years that wasn't tied to what she could do for someone else. It was about her. Her thoughts. Her truth. Her voice. The more she pulled back from her family, the more space she found to breathe. Not just physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. The weekends no longer filled her with dread. She didn't feel that creeping anxiety that someone would need her, call her, drain her. Instead, she slept in. Went to bookstores. Walked in the park with a coffee and no timeline. Listened to podcasts about boundaries and self-worth. For the first time in her adult life, her time belonged to her. There were pangs, of course. Moments when guilt rose like a phantom limb. When she'd think, maybe I should check in. Maybe I'm being too harsh. But then she'd remember, she had been checking in for years. And when she needed someone to check in on her, no one came. Not even once. By the end of the month, the silence had grown into a wall. Her family noticed. Harper sent a single-line text, "You good?" Lila read it and set the phone down. Not because she didn't want to answer, but because she finally knew the truth. She wasn't responsible for reassuring people who never showed up for her. She wasn't obligated to explain why she no longer wanted to be drained. She didn't need to justify her peace. She had been quiet her whole life, but now, this quiet was hers. A boundary. A sanctuary. A beginning. Chapter 15, New Light. It started with a single Saturday. No alarms. No errands. No emergencies. No vibrating phone with just a quick favor or "can you cover me till Tuesday?" Lila opened her eyes that morning to silence, not the oppressive kind, but a gentle, unfamiliar calm. The room glowed with soft morning light, pale gold through half-closed blinds. Her sheets were warm. The air was cool. Her phone sat untouched on her nightstand, face down, on purpose. She wasn't late for anything. She wasn't needed. She could breathe. And for once, she let herself just lie there. No mental checklists. No guilt gnawing at her stomach. No budgeting in her head before her feet hit the floor. Just the hum of a quiet apartment and the gentle realization that this day belonged to her. 3 weeks had passed since she started pulling back. No family texts. No surprise bills. No drained accounts. Her bank balance wasn't massive, but it wasn't scary either. For the first time in years, she hadn't sent out a single cent she didn't choose to spend. She had filled her tank once instead of twice, because she wasn't driving to anyone else's crisis. She'd made a real grocery list and stuck to it, no last-minute detours for Harper's kids or "we're low on eggs" texts from her mom. And now, with a small but steady rhythm forming in her life, Lila was discovering a sensation she hadn't felt since college. Stability. It didn't feel dramatic. It wasn't flashy. It felt quiet. Firm. A floor beneath her feet. The knowledge that, for once, she wouldn't be caught off guard by someone else's chaos. She made coffee, real coffee, not instant, and drank it slowly at the kitchen table. Sunlight streamed across her modest dishes. Her new blue ceramic plates glowed in the warmth. She played soft music from her laptop, nothing too loud. Just enough to fill the space with something that felt like peace. Then she did something she hadn't done in over a year. She opened a book. Not a work manual. Not a how-to guide. A novel, a thick paperback with bent corners and a character she'd grown fond of. She read 2 chapters while curled on the couch, legs tucked beneath her, the world narrowed to a single, beautiful thread, what she wanted to do. Later, she took herself out. No one called. No one needed a ride. No one reminded her that Mason was low on rent again or that Mom had a weird charge on her card. Her phone stayed in her purse while she wandered through a plant nursery, touching soft leaves and reading care instructions she had no intention of memorizing. She bought a succulent anyway. Her first ever. She named it Finn. A silly choice. A private rebellion. She went to a local cafe and ordered a lavender scone and a matcha latte. She sat outside and watched the world go by. People passed with dogs, toddlers, backpacks. None of them needed anything from her. She wasn't being studied or pulled or drained. She was just there. Existing. Unobligated. When she returned home that evening, arms full of small comforts, a candle, a new journal, a grocery bag of fresh fruit, her apartment felt different. Not like a stopgap. Not like a crash pad between responsibilities. But like a home. She stepped inside and didn't feel the weight of debt or resentment or obligation pressing against the walls. She lit the candle, vanilla and clove, and made herself a dinner that didn't come from a box. Roasted vegetables. A chicken thigh seasoned with things she liked. A glass of red wine she bought because it had a fox on the label. She ate at the table, phone tucked away, no family drama playing soundtrack. Just her. She didn't think about Mason. She didn't think about her mother's disappointment, or Harper's passive-aggressive texts, or the stack of unpaid gratitude she'd accumulated like emotional IOUs. She didn't think about any of it. Because for the first time, it wasn't hers to think about. That night, she took a long bath. Epsom salts. A playlist she'd made just for herself. She read a short story from a zine she picked up at a second-hand bookstore. And when she crawled into bed, body soft with comfort and quiet, she whispered something into the darkness. This is what I'm supposed to feel like. Not exhausted. Not responsible. Not small. But whole. Untouched. Resting. The lightness wasn't loud, it wasn't a firework, it was a flickering candle, but it was hers. And as she drifted to sleep, Lila realized. Peace is addictive. And she was just getting started. Chapter 16, Radio Silence. 3 months passed. And her phone didn't ring. At first, it was a quiet relief. A welcome hush. Lila reveled in the stillness, no draining group texts, no vague "can you help with" requests, no guilt-laced voicemails from her mother that started with "I know you're busy," but just nothing. The first few weeks, she checked out of habit. She'd glance at her notifications in the morning, not because she expected warmth, but because she was so used to being needed that the absence felt eerie. But by the end of the first month, she stopped checking. The silence had become her normal. Her freedom. She used to think that her family's constant outreach was proof that they cared. That her usefulness equated to being loved. But now, with everything still and stillness sacred, she could see clearly. They hadn't been calling to connect. They'd been calling to collect. In her old life, Lila was always on high alert. She could predict her mother's calls down to the day, always around the 25th, right before the month flipped and the bank accounts ran dry. Her father's messages came with an edge of polite panic. "Hey, I hate to ask, but..." Harper's were less subtle, usually sent while in line somewhere with a child crying in the background. "Can you just Venmo me like $40 real quick? I'll hit you back next week." Mason barely asked anymore. He'd just send a Cash App request with the word emergency and a thumbs up emoji. But now, nothing. At first, she wondered if they were okay. She even checked her mom's Facebook once, a peek into that curated gallery of family barbecues, quote of the day posts, and digital affirmations. Everyone looked fine. Mason had a new profile picture, shirtless on a boat. Harper had posted a video of her youngest at a school play. There were no signs of crisis. No red flags. No "where's Lila?" Just life. Without her. Which was exactly what she'd wanted, wasn't it? But then the third month hit. That was when the requests would have ramped up, holidays approaching, back-to-school expenses looming, heating bills climbing. And that's when the quiet changed. It wasn't peaceful anymore. It was unnerving. Because she could feel it happening. The realization. The slow dawning truth, on their end, that Lila was no longer on call. That the pipeline had shut off. That their invisible safety net had disappeared. And for a while, they didn't notice. Because they weren't looking at Lila, they were looking through her. They didn't see the structure holding them up until it stopped holding. And when it stopped, they stumbled. The first crack appeared in an email from her father. Not a call. Not a text. An email. Subject, checking in. Hey kiddo, just wanted to see how you're doing. Haven't heard from you in a while. Hope all is well. P.S. Any chance you've got room to help out with the gas bill this month? We got hit with a surprise spike. Totally understand if not. Lila stared at the screen. Not because she was surprised by the ask, but because of how casually it was sandwiched between false concern and another favor. They hadn't noticed she'd disappeared. They'd only noticed the money had. She didn't reply. Not out of anger, but out of clarity. If she responded, the pattern would reset. The machine would restart. She'd be seen not as a person with limits, but as a slot machine that had briefly jammed and was now ready to dispense again. Instead, she closed the laptop, stood up, and watered Finn, her little succulent, still thriving in the window. By week 12, Harper reached out. Hey. Random cue. Did you cancel your Hulu? Kids were trying to watch Bluey and it said account inactive. That was it. No, how are you? No, we miss you. No, are you okay? Just a digital nudge from someone who had long believed she was entitled to what Lila earned, built, and paid for, simply because Lila always had. Lila read the message and closed it. No reply. The silence stretched longer. And in it, Lila's world began to fill. Not with obligation. Not with guilt. But with herself. She went to work, and when her paycheck arrived, she didn't immediately slice it into survival portions for people who never said thank you. She started adding to her savings again, slowly, steadily. She lit candles in the evening, played records she loved, cooked meals that tasted like home, her home, not the one she was born into. She started seeing a therapist. A kind woman named Mara with warm eyes and the quietest voice Lila had ever heard. After 2 sessions, Lila said, I think I'm grieving a family that's still alive. And Mara nodded. By the end of the 3rd month, the texts from her family had trickled to almost nothing. They didn't know what to do with someone who stopped being useful. They didn't know how to want her if she wasn't giving something. And in that silence, Lila finally knew. She had never been seen, only accessed. And now? Now she was no longer available. And if they wanted to find her, they'd have to do something they never had before, look. Really look. And that, she suspected, might be more than they were willing to do. Chapter 17, The Unraveling. The cracks weren't visible at first. Lila only noticed them because she had stepped far enough back to finally see the whole picture, not the version her family curated, but the unfiltered, unraveling truth. It began in whispers, passing through second-hand updates she didn't ask for, and social media posts that revealed more than anyone intended. The first came through a mutual friend from high school, someone Lila hadn't spoken to in years, but who still followed Mason on Instagram. "Hey, random, but I think your brother's going through it. Just saw a post about him selling his Xbox for rent." Lila didn't reply. But her fingers tingled with a strange, grim recognition. Mason was spiraling. A week later, his LinkedIn quietly updated. Open to work. Gone was the strategic consultant title he'd proudly flaunted. No job title, no explanation. Lila did a simple search. Apex Digital, downsizing. Several departments let go without severance. Mason had been coasting. Everyone knew it. He'd shown up late, skipped internal meetings, delegated every task he could. And when things got tight at the company, the deadweight got cut. Only now, the golden parachute he'd always assumed would appear, family, favors, forgiveness, was gone. Because Lila wasn't there to catch him. Mason's credit cards maxed out within weeks. He posted vague messages online. "Some people only love you when you're useful. Funny how fast that changes. And, hard times reveal who's really there for you." Lila didn't respond. But the irony stung. Who had he been talking about all those years, if not her? A few more days passed, and then came the next fracture. This time from her mother. "Mom. Hey sweetheart. Just wondering, do you still have that guy who helped with your taxes? We're getting letters. Scary ones." Lila didn't answer. Not because she wanted them to suffer. But because she had nothing left to give. And because this time, the lesson wasn't hers to carry. Her parents were in trouble. It hadn't hit them yet, not fully, but it was coming. Their mortgage, once manageable with Lila's quiet contributions, now sat heavy and unpaid. They had missed 2 months without realizing how much she'd been covering behind the scenes, a portion of the escrow here, a surprise tax hike there. The little things Lila used to catch, patch, and handle. Without her, the gaps spread like cracks in drywall. They tried to rework their budget, but there was no budget to rework. Their income hadn't changed. Their habits hadn't either. What had changed was Lila. And suddenly, nothing held. In October, her mother called again. The voicemail was shakier this time. "Hey, honey, I know we haven't talked much lately, but we're really underwater. Your dad and I didn't realize how much you'd been helping. We're just now seeing everything, and it's bad. We thought we had a cushion, but... well, I guess that was you. Anyway, call when you can. We're trying to figure things out. It would mean a lot just to hear your voice." It would have broken Lila, once. Months ago, that message would have sent her spiraling, guilt, shame, the old instinct to swoop in, fix everything, sacrifice herself again. But not now. Now, she heard it for what it was, the sound of a house built on denial, finally realizing the foundation was gone. And the foundation had been her. They were unraveling. Mason stopped posting. His once daily motivational quotes and selfies in branded polos gave way to silence. Harper posted a GoFundMe link for unexpected school expenses. Their mother started sharing articles about foreclosure assistance. Their father's profile photo quietly disappeared, no longer him at the backyard grill, but a blank, default icon. The family that had always radiated confident dysfunction was now showing its wear. Without Lila to glue the seams, they cracked. Loudly. Publicly. But no one said her name. Not yet. They didn't want to say it. Because saying it would mean acknowledging the truth. That the person they once called dramatic, selfish, and cold had been the only one keeping everything standing. And now that she was gone, so was the illusion of stability. Chapter 18, The Blame Game. It began slowly, like water seeping through old wood, soft at first, then splitting the whole frame apart. The Martin family had always avoided direct conflict. Sure, there had been flare-ups over the years, Harper's teenage defiance, Mason's failed classes, the occasional passive-aggressive jab between parents at dinner, but nothing that couldn't be smoothed over, ignored, or pinned on someone else. But this time, there was no one left to absorb the weight. Lila was gone. And in her absence, the cracks had no choice but to turn inward. It started with Mason. After weeks of radio silence, he showed up at their parents' front door unannounced, car packed with boxes, clothes stuffed into garbage bags, a laundry basket holding his TV and gaming console like a sad offering. "I got evicted," he said simply, stepping inside like nothing had happened. "I need to crash here until I figure something out." His mother blinked. "You didn't pay rent." "I couldn't," he snapped. "My credit cards are maxed. And I told you, Apex fired half the department. What was I supposed to do?" His father folded his arms. "You should have told us sooner." Mason's voice rose. "I did. I sent that message to Mom asking for help with groceries." "We're not talking about groceries," his father barked. "We're talking about your life. You're 29, Mason." "Don't start," Mason muttered, pushing past them into the living room. "This wouldn't have happened if you hadn't gotten used to Lila footing the damn bills." The silence was sharp. His mother straightened, her face pale. "That's not fair. Isn't it?" Mason shot back. "We've all been acting like we're fine when we were never fine. You two didn't budget for the taxes. You let the house go into default. You thought Lila would just keep doing what she always did." His dad stepped forward. "She didn't even say she was stopping. She just ghosted us. Maybe because she was done being used." "Don't talk about your sister like that," his mother snapped, even though she knew it was true. "She left us," his father said flatly. "She knew what shape we were in." Mason threw up his hands. "Exactly. You depended on her too much. All of us did. And now that she's gone, you want to act like she's the problem." His mother looked down. "She changed. She stopped calling. Stopped replying. Maybe she got tired of being the only adult in the room," Mason muttered. The next day, Harper joined the call. Their mother had texted her the night before. "Mason's back. Dad's furious. Lila still hasn't called. Everything's falling apart." Harper showed up mid-morning, baby on her hip and a look of thinly veiled irritation on her face. "What's going on now?" she said, letting herself in without knocking. They filled her in: Mason's eviction, the overdue mortgage, the unpaid credit cards. Her expression soured. "Well, It's not like I can help, she snapped. I'm barely making it through myself. Don't look at us like this is news, Mason said, flopping on the couch. We all knew Lila was the one holding the budget together. She never told me, Harper said defensively. She never complained, Mason corrected. That's not the same. Their father paced. We did what we could. But she could have said something. If she needed help, we would have. Don't lie, Mason cut in. She did ask. Remember the car thing? A few months back. Their mother frowned. That was nothing. A couple $100. She was desperate, Mason said. And you made her feel like she was being selfish. Harper crossed her arms. So what? Now she's punishing us. She's ignoring everyone and letting us fall apart. She's not responsible for us, Mason said. That's the point. But the blame had already begun its descent. By the end of the week, they were no longer whispering Lila's name, they were weaponizing it. She could have called their mom, repeated. She could have helped their dad, insisted. She abandoned us, Harper muttered, wiping her eyes after reading yet another declined daycare invoice. She finally started acting like you all taught her to, Mason said quietly. Transactional. Detached. Practical. No one replied. Because even Mason, the golden child, now understood something no one wanted to say out loud. The house hadn't collapsed when Lila left. It had already been broken. She had just been holding it up. Now that she was gone, there was no more glue. No more easy fixes. No one left to absorb the fallout. And the people who had long depended on Lila's quiet stability were now forced to see each other as they really were. Flawed. Floundering. And more alike than they wanted to admit. They started blaming each other for things Lila used to fix before anyone noticed. The thermostat broke, Mason blamed their father for never replacing it. The car insurance lapsed, Harper blamed their mom for being bad with details. Groceries ran short, their parents blamed Harper for having kids she couldn't afford. The bank account dipped into overdraft, everyone blamed everyone else. But underneath it all, was Lila. Her absence. Her boundaries. Her decision to stop bleeding for people who refused to bandage their own wounds. And still, no one called her. Not to apologize. Not to ask how she was. Only to whisper in each other's ears. This all started when Lila changed. Chapter 19, A Desperate Call. It came on a Tuesday evening, just as Lila was stepping out of the shower. Her phone lit up on the counter, vibrating insistently, not with a text this time, but a call. Mom. Lila stared at it, frozen, water dripping from her hair onto the floor. She hadn't heard her mother's voice in months. Not since the conversation that ended with her being called dramatic, selfish, and unrecognizable. Her finger hovered over decline. She nearly pressed it. But something in her, not guilt, not curiosity, but clarity, told her to answer. Not because she owed them anything. But because she was no longer afraid of what they would say. She wrapped a towel around herself, took a breath, and picked up. Hello. There was a moment of hesitation on the other end, the kind of silence that usually follows a practiced line being forgotten. Lila, her mother finally said, voice soft, almost too soft. Hi. Hi, Lila replied evenly. Her tone was not warm. Not cold. Just firm. Her mother cleared her throat. I know it's been a while. Too long. Lila said nothing. We've just been, well, everything's been a little crazy lately. Your dad's been dealing with the mortgage people. Mason's still trying to get back on his feet. And Harper, well, you know Harper. She gave a soft laugh that sounded rehearsed. Lila didn't smile. She waited. Her mother sighed. We miss you. Silence. We miss having you around. Things haven't been the same. Lila raised her eyebrow, though her mother couldn't see it. Not the same, code for more difficult now that you're not doing everything. We've all been talking, her mom continued, and we just think it's time we all come back together. As a family. Lila felt her spine straighten. Here it was. You want something, she said quietly. No, no. It's not about that. We're not asking for money. Lila didn't respond. Her mother continued, faster now. We realized how much we leaned on you. And maybe we didn't say thank you enough. That's on us. But family needs to stick together. That's what matters. We want you back. Back. As if she'd been away on vacation. As if she'd simply gone quiet, not drained dry and walked away to survive. Lila spoke slowly. You miss what I gave. Not me. That's not fair, her mother said instantly. You're part of this family. Of course we miss you. Name 3 things you know about my life right now, Lila said. Her mother paused. Well. I know you got those new dishes you liked. You posted them once. Lila stared at the tile floor beneath her feet. Right, she said. That was 4 months ago. Do you know where I work now? More silence. Do you know if I've been sick? Or if I've made any friends? Lila. Do you know what I did last weekend? I'm trying, sweetheart. I'm reaching out, aren't I? Now the voice sounded wounded, the classic emotional bait. You're not reaching out, Lila said gently. You're trying to reset the cycle. Because it stopped benefiting you. That's not true. It is, Lila said, voice steady. I said no for the first time in years, and instead of checking in, you made me the problem. You said I'd changed. That I was selfish. Now things are falling apart and suddenly you miss me. We just want to be a family again. No, Lila replied. You want the old version of me back, the one who never needed, never said no, never asked for anything. Her mother was quiet for a long moment. Then, softly. You're not being fair. And that was when Lila knew, they still didn't get it. They wanted her present, compliant, available. They didn't want to grow. Or change. Or learn. They just wanted her back in the machine. But the machine was broken. And Lila wasn't going to rebuild it for them. I'm not coming back, she said simply. You don't mean that, her mother said, voice tight. We're family. Family doesn't mean servitude. Her mother said her name again, but this time, it was pleading. Desperate. Like the word might make her bend. Like it might cast a spell and bring her back into line. Lila didn't answer. She ended the call. She stood still for a moment, heart thudding. Not in fear. Not in grief. In finality. The moment she'd feared for years, the call, the begging, the guilt-laced plea, had come. And she had chosen herself. No apology. No compromise. No emotional rescue. For the first time, Lila had let the weight stay where it belonged, on them. She set the phone down and looked out the window. The sky was violet now, fading into night. Her apartment was still. Safe. Hers. And this time, she wasn't waiting for someone to ruin it.
They lied. They cheated. They betrayed the one person who gave them everything. But guess what? The truth always finds a voice, and here, it screams. If you live for chaos, loyalty gone wrong, and revenge served cold. Like this video. Drop a comment. And hit subscribe, because on Family Drama Unleashed, we don't forgive, and we never forget. Tap that bell, because the next betrayal? It's already on its way.